What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I bring you news of new starter decks. Now, admittedly, the amount of information we have is somewhat slim, but don't worry, we still have plenty to talk about. And a bunch of questions to pose. And I like talking about Digimon stuff. So, the news is coming around from the Twitter handle at DE_GI_NO_GEN_2. A very snappy name, if I may say so myself. And the news is that there are two new starter decks featuring Jesmon and RagnaLordmon. And they're going to be releasing on April the 22nd. And the news there is that it will be updated as soon as possible. Yeah, that's essentially what we've got. April the 22nd, two new starter decks are coming around. But we know which Digimon they feature, and that actually tells us quite a bit. Because remember, one of the things, I've just told you we're getting Jesmon, and Jesmon's kind of cool. But let's not forget that just a little while ago, last week sometime, if I remember correctly, week before, same deal, came down on the 14th of January. We had the update to the ban and restricted list, and that included a restriction to one card per deck of Savior Huckmon, as of April 2022 over here, when BT8 pre-release comes around. And that is a phenomenal card that is just really, really good in Jesmon decks. So when you Digivolve, you can play a Digimon with Systemon in its name without paying from your hand. And it's got an inheritable skill. If you have a Digimon with Systemon in its name in play, when attacking once per turn, you may unsuspend this Digimon. It's one of the cards that made Jesmon really good, and what they said on the Japanese website essentially was that, this card has kept Jesmon being a top deck for longer than they thought it would, and Jesmon was a little bit better than they thought it would, so they went and restricted it. So at the moment, we're all in that situation where we're looking at Jesmon going, it's not as good as it was. So it's probably going to start falling off in the not too distant future. But maybe it won't. Because with a new Jesmon deck comes a new Jesmon. But probably not just Jesmon, probably the whole evolution line here. Will it also revolve around Systemon? No idea. Up till now, Jesmon and Systemon have been very, very much hand in hand. Can't tell you one way or the other about this starter deck, we don't know, but it's really interesting to note that right as Jesmon gets a huge nerf, we also get news of a new Jesmon coming. This could end up being really cool, bearing in mind there are almost certainly going to be some reprints. They do that nowadays. They tend to do reprints of starter deck cards or not starter deck cards, generally in starter decks, although some of them are starter deck cards, but there'll be a whole bunch of exclusive cards. You can expect this to be a new Jesmon we've not seen before, a new RagnaLordmon we've not seen before, and that's really cool. Now, speaking of RagnaLordmon, of course, we have seen that before, only the once, and we saw it right back in BT3, Security Attack +1, and Reboot, and when you Digivolve, you can add a Durandamon or Browaludramon from your hand to the top of your Digivolution sources to gain free memory. Essentially make it free to Digivolve, and incidentally, free to Digivolve for a level 7 is low anyway, making it free is nuts. And essentially, RagnaLordmon up till now has been meh. Nobody's really cared. Like, if you look at the winning decks all around, this is just not making a splash. Nobody really cares about RagnaLordmon. Or do they? Because the lovely DTCG Review, one of my favourite people over on Twitter, went and shared a tweet from the same person. Yeah, that's right, the same person who tweeted about this starter deck. And essentially, you could buy this for 300 yen recently. But now they've gone and shared this image, which I think is from Makari. And all of a sudden, RagnaLordmon is jumping up in price. That alternate art has gone from like 300 yen, nobody wants it, up to 900 yen. That's big, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty big. And I say 900 yen, that's a little bit of a rough guide. There's multiple different ones there. My point is, there are enough of them there to say this is jumping up in price. And it seems to be averaging 900 to 1,000 yen. Now, look, don't get me wrong, that's still not huge. But 900 yen? It's not nothing. So it's a lot more than it was before. I mean, you're talking somewhere in the region of about £6 or about $8. It's 3 times what it used to be. And maybe it's speculation. And that is one of the possible options here, right? And look, it's a gamble. But when you see a new Jesmon deck's coming out, maybe that's going to make Jesmon as a whole better. When you see a new RagnaLordmon deck coming out, maybe that's going to make RagnaLordmon as a deck better. And I can't tell you whether it will or not. I don't know what these new cards are going to have. I don't know what the new cards are going to do. They could be brilliant, they could be terrible. Nobody really knows. But the fact of the matter is, there is now a chance. And we've seen recently cards jumping up in price just a little bit because new cards are coming out, which is making existing stuff a lot better. We saw that Beezlemon came back around with regular Beezlemon and also Blast Mode, came back around in EX2, and all of a sudden that made the Beezlemon from BT2 a significantly better card, and now all of a sudden the price of that one has gone and shot up. And clever people who were paying attention to Japan started acting on that sooner rather than later over here. The secret's kind of out on that one, I'm afraid. And I'm not saying, and let's be super clear, because I really do want to be clear about this. I am not saying that you should all go and buy all the RagnaLordmon and Jesmon stuff because there are new starter decks coming. Maybe it's going to be good and relevant, maybe it's not, I don't know. But there's always a chance, and that's kind of interesting to me. What is also interesting to me is that they seem to be going back to the 2 starter deck model. Because let's not forget, the most recent starter deck that was revealed was starter deck 11, and that was very, very different. Incidentally, I did do an opening of that on my channel not too long ago. I would obviously highly recommend you check that out. But starter deck 11 was very, very different to anything they've done before. It was one starter deck released on its own. It came in a deck box, and that deck box is beautiful, is a brilliant deck box. It came with a playset of promo Gamamon. Unrelated to the deck, just separate to the deck, you got a playset of Gamamon. And all the cards in it were reprints, some from Starter Deck 1, some from other places, and none of them were hollow or etched or detailed or anything like that. They were all just regular cards. So, you can see on the image on the screen, there is a reprint of a secret rare War Greymon, but in the deck, that's just like a common or an uncommon card. It still says super rare, but there's no texture on it, there's no foiling, there's no detailing, it's just a regular card. It's really weird. So you had this weird thing where there was one starter deck on its own that was all reprints and had a separate 4 playset of a promo card and came in its own deck box, and it was really weird. And I was like, oh, is that how they're doing starter decks now? No, they're going straight back to this. And this looks very, very much like the last pair of starter decks they did, starter decks 9 and 10, which did, of course, feature your Mastermon and your Imperial Dramon. What was also very, very interesting with these is that you had that special version which was released on Amazon Japan. Now, I don't know whether they're doing a new special version for this. We don't know. We've not been told. If we are told, obviously I will bring you the news on this channel. But the special version that came with Amazon Japan came in a special box, and it literally came in the box. Again, I've done an opening of this on the channel as well. Do check it out. But rather than getting 2 separate packages, your 2 starter decks in the regular boxes and this flat packed, it came in this box. You then got a special set of sleeves, which as of this moment have not been released anywhere else, and a pair of promo cards, which are an alternate art Imperial Dramon and Mastermon. Now, these are the same cards that came in the decks proper, but alternate artwork, and as it stands at the moment, these have not been released anywhere else. They might be, they might not be, we have no idea, although it's been a little while over in Japan at this stage and we've heard nothing about them. I think in terms of Japan, this might be it. These cards might essentially have been released and they're not coming out anywhere else. In the UK, remember, we've not, or US, Europe, etc., everywhere outside of Japan, we've not seen a release of Starter Deck 9 and 10 yet. You would imagine, because Bandai have been really good at giving us all the promos, you would imagine there is some way that we will be able to get these alternate arts. It wouldn't surprise me if Bandai just put the alternate arts in those starter decks, honestly. You just got one of each of them in the starter deck, but you'd imagine we're getting it in some way. Is there going to be an Amazon exclusive version of these new starter decks? We don't know. I hope so. I will order it in a heartbeat, if there is. But it does look now like starter deck 11... Well, I want to say it was a little bit of an outlier, but it might not be. It might be that sometimes they'll do one starter deck on its own in a deck box of a bunch of reprints, and then they'll do a pair of them, which is a little, fancier. Maybe they'll flick between them. I don't know. But this is what we know, ladies and gentlemen, and I've given you all the information we've got. There are starter decks featuring RagnaLordmon and Jesmon, new ones, not the old ones, and they're going to be coming out in April, and this sounds like an awful lot of fun. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.